My channel is dedicated to uncovering and interpreting criminal cases from East Asian countries, with a particular focus on China. Continuing from the last episode, the case of Hao Lingling, a missing female middle school student, remains unsolved. After her disappearance, searches by her family, friends, and schoolmates yielded no results until May 24, 1997, when a farmer who rented the field discovered her body. Hao Lingling's body was also found naked, her hands tightly tied behind her back, and her mouth sealed with tape, presenting a grisly sight. However, as the police were busy solving 3 previously reported rape and murder cases, on September 13, 1997, at the same location as Hao Lingling's tragic event, another severe rape and murder case involving a female middle school student occurred. A 13-year-old girl from the same village as Hao Lingling, Luya, was followed and abducted to a roadside ditch, where she was shot. Since 1996, several rape cases have been reported in the dense forests, pavilions, and paths surrounding Mount Song, the Longmen Temple, the Yuhuangbo Temple, and other ancient temples. 4 of these cases also involved murder. The police in Dengfeng have made repeated efforts to catch the perpetrators, but the investigation has made little progress due to the rugged terrain, heavy tourist traffic, and the reluctance of victims to provide leads. However, by 2001, 5 years after the first crime, the number of rape and murder victims had increased to 7. The victims ranged in age from nearly 11 to over 50, which caused the police immense distress and a sense of helplessness. In mid-April 2001, an important figure arrived at the Dengfeng Public Security Bureau and became the new police bureau chief. This was Ren Changxia, the first female police chief in Chinese history. Upon her arrival, she immediately started to deal with unsolved murder cases. Soon after, the Dengfeng Public Security Bureau established a second special task force to investigate the Wangyang Port serial rape and murder cases, launching a new round of operations to capture the demon. The task force's analysis revealed several commonalities in the several rape and murder cases occurring in and around Mount Song in recent years. For example, the crimes typically happened in the morning, noon, or evening, in secluded and quiet paths and forests, and were preceded by brutal sexual assaults. Detectives speculated that the perpetrator was likely a local with a fixed residence near Mount Song, possibly with a certain status or occupation as a cover. Consequently, a large number of police officers conducted searches, while several female officers conducted undercover investigations, attempting to lure the demon out. The police also selected a group of handsome male officers to pose as women and frequently appeared in areas where crimes were likely to occur, searching for clues and enticing the perpetrator. However, during 2 months of continuous investigation, the entire Mount Song area remained quiet, as if the demon had vanished overnight. The police realized that the demon had detailed information about all their actions, indicating that the demon's hideout was on Mount Song. Therefore, the task force decided to focus on all the monks and staff of the temples on Mount Song. At the same time, they adopted a strategy of feigning withdrawal, publicly withdrawing police forces from key spots on Mount Song, giving the impression that the police had left the area. This tactic proved effective for the Dengfeng police. At 5:10 p.m. on July 23, 2001, Gang Ping, a worker at the Shaolin Temple Affairs Office in Dengfeng City, was waiting for customers on a motorized tricycle at the Shaolin Temple intersection, as he typically did. Suddenly, a well-mannered monk around 40 years old, with a shaven head, approached him and said, "Good afternoon, esteemed lady donor. I require your assistance to travel to the Lotus Temple to fetch an item. I am willing to pay any fare necessary for the round trip. May peace be with you." Gang Ping, recognizing him as a member of the clergy, agreed to transport him. However, due to the inaccessibility of the Lotus Temple by motorized tricycle, and the fact that the nearest parking lot was nearly 2 miles away from the temple, Gang Ping decided to park the tricycle and hike up the mountain with the monk. By 6:40 p.m., all the visitors had descended the mountain, leaving the area unusually tranquil. As Gung Ping and the monk walked past a densely wooded area, the monk abruptly turned around. With a swift movement, he grabbed Gung Ping by the neck and forcefully dragged him into the nearby woods. Gung Ping found his voice cut off as he gasped for air, realizing that death was imminent. He fought and struggled, but the monk's superior strength allowed him to easily subdue Gung Ping, strip him of his clothing, and bind him securely with a rope. Following, the monk began tearing Gung Ping's clothes and warned him to keep his mouth shut. On the brink of death, Gung Ping, quick-witted, forced a smile and calmly said to the monk, "Master, I understand the hardships of monastic life. As long as you spare me, I promise to fulfill all your demands." Upon hearing the victim speak so calmly, the monk suddenly widened his eyes, became much milder in attitude, abandoned the thought of killing him, dropped the tape in his hand, and began to loosen his clothes. However, during the assault, Gung Ping secretly noted the assailant's physical features. After a while, the demon, satisfied, got up and crawled into the dense forest. Gung Ping, after confirming his safety, slightly composed himself, hopped on a tricycle, raced down the mountain, and headed straight for the Dengfeng City Public Security Bureau. After receiving the report, the Dengfeng police immediately narrowed down their investigation focus to the Lianhua Temple and its surrounding temples. The next day, officers arrived at the Lianhua Temple. Based on Gung Ping's description of the criminal, the nuns in the temple revealed that a person matching the described features had briefly appeared with the name Wang Shaofei. Due to his unknown background, the nuns were reluctant to accommodate him, but he insisted and they had to reluctantly agree temporarily. However, a few months ago, Wang Shaofei disappeared after being beaten for his dishonest behavior. The criminal investigators quickly checked surrounding temples. At the Yuhuanggo Temple, the abbot informed undercover police officers that Wang Shaofei, a Taoist, had indeed briefly stayed a few months ago but was currently not in the temple. He had gone up the mountain after breakfast to chop wood and search for herbs. As it was getting late with overcast skies and light rain, to ensure the success of the arrest operation, the investigators decided to take three routes, one to set up an ambush behind the temple, controlling the only road to the mountain area, one to stay inside the temple, waiting for Wang Shaofei's return, and three other investigators to go downhill to a junction near the Shaolin Temple, blocking roads leading out of the mountain. That night, Wang Shaofei returned to the temple humming a tune after committing the crime but soon sensed that something was amiss. Regretting not eliminating Gung Ping to eliminate future troubles, he realized that the young woman on the three-wheeler, different from regular pilgrims, had diverse experiences in society. If they reported to the authorities, he would face significant risks. Terrified, he broke into a cold sweat, unsure of what to do. That night, citing safety reasons, he used a rope to secure the temple gate's top bar and removed the latch from the mountain window for a quick escape. The next morning, without even having breakfast, he left the temple with a few steamed buns, hastily running up the mountain. Like a ghost, he hid in the dense forest along the road to the Yuhuanggo Temple, observing for potential dangers. In the afternoon, around 5 p.m., he saw 6 tall visitors entering the Yuhuang Palace Temple. Feeling that the situation had escalated, he thought it wise to flee before the authorities surrounded the area. Rushing downhill, he never dreamt that as he reached the intersection near the Shaolin Temple Road, several dark gun muzzles were pointed at him. Gung Ping, the victim, charged at him, grabbing his collar, and subjected him to a fierce beating. With the capture of the first demon, Wang Shaofei, the police finally lifted the heavy burden that had weighed on them for 5 long years. The news of the capture of the Mount Song's first demon spread rapidly through the streets and alleys of Dengfeng City. People shared the news, and under police interrogation, the demonic spirit Wang Shaofei completely collapsed mentally, confessing to all his crimes. According to his confession, during his more than 5 years of hiding in Mount Song, he had brutally killed 7 adult women and young girls, committing a total of 19 heinous acts. 3 of these vicious crimes had taken place beneath the large Buddha statue at the Lianhua Temple. At times when he couldn't find suitable victims within the temple, he searched in the valleys outside the temple, on secluded paths at the foot of Mount Song. Once he identified a target, he spared no one, regardless of age. After Wang Shaofei's arrest, he reflected, "I usually dressed in Taoist robes to pose as a Taoist, but during the crimes, I dressed as a monk. This way, nobody suspected me, and the police wouldn't connect me to the crimes." This serial killer lived near Mount Song for 6 years but never received any divine intervention from Buddhism. He even committed violence in front of Buddha statues. Although not a Buddhist, he hoped for Buddhist justice to condemn this demon to the 18 layers of hell. That concludes today's program. If you enjoyed listening to the coverage of significant cases, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Thank you and goodbye.